Good evening, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel of cheap gear, cheap baits, and still catching fish. As you can see laid out for you, we have a selection of bait casting reels. There are a ton of videos already on YouTube about buying your first bait caster, spooling your first bait caster, what kind of line should you choose, backing, no backing, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go into that in any particular detail in this video. This is just sort of a first look / comparison video on 3 different types of reels, basically. So we have this Pflueger President as a single brake system, as a mag brake with 10 different levels of breakage. Hopefully you don't break your reel, but and this is the KastKing Spartacus, which is a little bit cheaper than the President. Also is the cheapest dual brake bait casting reel I've found to date online. As you can see, it has a matte finish, plastic body, but pretty good internals. We'll go over that in a minute. And then these are the Mavlos, 2 separate colors. I'll explain why here in a minute. This is the GBD 200. You can usually find these for around 32 to 26 bucks, depending on where you find them, when you find them. I don't like to get into real particulars on price, but this is just kind of in general. Like these are the cheaper versions, all plastic cases, a few bits of metal here and there. Cheapest dual brake, and then one that I would say that would be still on the cheaper side, but something will probably last you a few seasons. And once again, we'll go over why here in a little bit. But so here we go. We'll start on this end here. So how this went down, I originally ordered this orange one from AliExpress. So we've got this orange Mavlos, once again, GBD 200, 6.5 to 1 gear ratio. And once again, I mean, if you guys want me to go over kind of like breaking these apart so you guys can actually see like what's going on inside and why I make the comments I make, and we'll go from there. But I originally ordered this one. It came very heavily damaged. I can't remember which one because it's, dual plane. But one of these was bent so bad from the shipping damage that you physically couldn't actually turn the reel anymore. Also, one of the star drag digits was busted off. So after a quick online discussion with the guys at Mavlos, they elected to not have me return this one since it was basically unsalvageable from what they thought in the pictures, and sent me this one, but they didn't have it in the gold coppery anymore, so they sent me the blue one. But these reels are identical. Extremely light due to the all plastic construction for the most part. I say there are a few metal parts on it. They've got aluminum handle, some kind of cast aluminum for the star drag, some metal parts on the internals. I do like the feel on these knobs. I'm not a huge fan of the foam. I do like the rubberized hard plastic. That's more of a personal preference than anything else. So once again, with these cheaper reels, so I'll get back to this. So they sent me this one as a replacement for this one. I got taking a closer look at this one and actually took it apart. And I got this bent back into shape. The old trusty bench vise. And some grunt. And we got that taken care of. And then, I had the star drag off. I actually cleaned this up a little bit. And then super glued it back in place. And it seems to be holding pretty good. You can ratchet on that one that's broken. And if it breaks off, you still got 4 other points. And this isn't rough down here. So it would probably still be serviceable if you absolutely had to. But we'll get into the longevity factor of these two, because those are my biggest concerns with these 2 reels here. A lot of the internal components are just cheaper, smaller, thinner. plastic in some cases on these. So we've got these thumb screws. You just back those off there, and then you can easily take the side cover off. So we've got a five mag brake system. These Mavlos ones, I don't know if we can get a shot of this here, but actually as you rotate that mag brake in and out, it's only got about 6 positions, I think. So yeah, it's about 10. Same as the other one, it's just not marked. There's this little kind of hard to see max thing right there. Yeah, there we go. So we've got the little arrow in that direction. So as you adjust it this way, that mag system actually gets closer to the spool. As you can see, it's fully recessed into that spool ratchet right there. And then as you crank it out, it actually pushes itself further out. And it ends up getting closer to this spool here. And that's what actually retards the freewheeling of the spool. So that's how basically a mag brake works. There's the first look at the one of the actual bearings in this thing. They claim this is, I think, an 11+1 bearing reel. That's a bit of a misnomer. There are a few real bearings in this thing. One of them is right here. And then but they're counting, like, they've got plastic bushings inside these handles. They're counting those as bearings. There is a bearing in here, as it should be. There's also one on the back here with a spool tensioner. So I'd say there's 3 real bearings in this thing. Real roller bearings, sealed roller bearings. The rest of them are just basically bushings. So we've got some type of mystery Chinesium stuff. Like I said, this is an all plastic case. You know, beggars can't be choosers when you're paying cheap. So due to the way the components are laid out inside the reel, and the fact that most of it's plastic, like I said, I have concerns about longevity. If you're one of those guys that's going to take his bass rod out 3 or 4 times a year, toss some lily pads, this thing will probably last you, years. If you're a more heavy use guy, you're going to go several times a year, I'd probably look more toward this end of the scale of reels. But like I say, under $40, not a horrible way to go. We'll kind of update this video as it goes along too, with actual fish catching data, how the drag actually functions when you got a fish on, that type of stuff. The drag does seem pretty linear. The more you crank it down, the drag seems super smooth on these. This is just adjusting a couple of friction discs on the drive shaft of that's connected to the reel handle, and it's just pushing friction clutches against there and retarding the spool letting off. So anyway, I've got this rigged up with coated 8-strand braid and a 15-pound. This is a 8-strand uncoated braid in 20-pound. This reel's actually got backer on it. I use some 15-pound mono backer. This one's actually tied right to the spool. And once again, if you guys have any questions about that, I know guys are iffy about running braid. Pardon me. Running braid on the spool bare. Guys opt to put tape on it, all kinds of stuff. But there's actually a tying method to ensure that you don't get any slip on these spools. And once again, if you guys want to see that, just drop me a comment, and I'll show you how it's done. And like I said, if you want a more exploded view of these reels, what's inside of them, why I'm making the comments I'm making, feel free to drop me a line. We can do a more detailed video. So moving on, this is the Spartacus from Cast King. They're claiming this one has 11+1 bearings. This one actually does. Once again, it's got these closed cell foam handles. I'm not a huge fan of these, just the way they feel. They do offer a little bit of advantage over these rubberized hard plastic ones. Just as you get moisture on them, these tend to kind of feel the same always. These will get a little slick, but then they dry off real fast. So very same basic setup. You've got spool tensioner here, star drag, just like normal. Once again, this one's very smooth. One thing I noticed when I took this one apart here, a lot more metal components, and the smaller components that kind of held everything together are much more robust. I mean, you can see right away, like this locking plate for the real nut. I mean, it's almost twice as thick as the Mavlos stuff. So, like I say, you get what you pay for. So this is spooled up with 50-pound coated braid. This is going to be the rig I'm going to use in the springtime for, punching grass, that kind of stuff with big heavy drop shots, and then, having to drag those larger fish out from the shallows when you're dealing with lots of weeds. So this one actually has a locking mechanism over here as opposed to a thumb screw. Just another way to do it, basically. So you just push that tab, basically, and then the cover rotates. And this reel has actually, I think, quite a bit better fit and finish overall, I would say. There, we did it. Up over this. There we go. Now we're back in. So, once again, this is the first cheapest dual brake I could find. So this is your first set of brake right here. So this is a centrifugal style brake. So the faster this spins, the more braking force is applied. Right now we've got this one set to 0. So this is actually not doing anything right now. If you push that spool out just a little bit, you can grab a hold of this ratchet and actually crank it up. And what that's doing at level 6, that's allowing this brake to have more effect on the spool. So it'll push these fingers out and actually apply some braking force to the reel. So this metal seat here is what your mag brake tracks to. Once again, this is a 5 mag setup. Real sealed roller bearings. There were 5 of these bearings in this one, so less bushings than the Mavlos. Once again, one of those things, you get what you pay for. I'm not super happy with the feel and the fit of this one. Like, even though these are cheaper, like the actual fit and the joints and stuff is quite a bit smoother than this Spartacus. But the matte finish does feel pretty good, even though it might not look quite as tricky as these two. But, so we'll slap this bad boy back together here. Like I said, the side plate does fit nice and tight. There's your mag brake adjustment. Once again, works exactly the same way as these others do. Just pushes that mag further or closer to the spool to give you the braking force. So the materials inside this reel were a little bit more recognizable. Like the shaft in this thing is, who knows what it is, some kind of Chinesium. This one obviously is bronze. And like I say, the overall thing is just quite a bit more heavier built. Now that does have a translation in weight too, so I mean that's something you might want to consider as well. So that's the Spartacus kind of in a nutshell. Once again, we'll get some data this spring, how it actually functions, how the drag works, and hopefully give you guys an update on how these actually fish. And then this so far has been my favorite. This is a Pflueger President. Also the most expensive. I think MSRP on Pflueger's website for these is $59.99. I found a deal on this one on Amazon for I think around $51. So, half a C note, but got really nice fit finish. This has got a aluminum frame. So this is the first baitcaster we're looking at that actually has a metal frame. Yeah, it's just it's a really slick deal. I mean, everything feels nice. Weight, I would actually say, is kind of in between the two. It's not quite as heavy as the Spartacus, but it's definitely heavier than the Mavlos. But really slick release. Right now I'm running uncoated 15-pound braid on this. This also has no backer. This 50-pound here has 25-pound mono backer. And then this is usually what it's going to be super rare that you get spooled on a baitcaster just because you have so much of your main line on, usually 100 yards plus. So, and you've got a heavy drag setup and you're usually, using medium light, medium heavy rods. It's going to be very unlikely you're going to get spooled on one of these. So it's really not that critical what your backer is weight-wise because you're never going to see it. I mean, the backers, they're mainly to save you money because these right here, I think, are $5 a piece. Any of the big name chain stores, Walmart, Meyer. You can pick these up anywhere. I just got a couple common sizes, 15 pound, 25 pound. And it's basically just to take up reel space. So like this here, this is I got a spool of this 20 pound 8-strand braid uncoated from wish.com. And so just to give me some reel space here, so I didn't have to use quite so much of this stuff. This was $10 for 500 meters. So, I mean, you could spool up a lot of bait casters with 500 meters of 20 pound. So I used some of this 15 pound Berkley Trilene Big Game as a backer on this one. And then, double uni to the braid and then spooled it with braid. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell, guys. Yeah, like I said, any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. And have a fantastic evening. Catch you guys in the next video.